Imagine a city of 5 million people, one of the fastest growing in the entire country, where every shower, every faucet, every swimming pool, every golf course depends on a single canal that crosses 336 miles of open desert to deliver water from a reservoir that is already sitting more than 150 feet below where it was 20 years ago. That's not a thought experiment. That is Phoenix right now. And the canal is already being rationed. What makes this different from every drought story you have seen before is not the heat, not the growth, not the politics. It's the sequence. There is a specific chain of events already in motion, confirmed by NASA satellites, modeled by federal water engineers, and acknowledged in government documents that barely made the evening news. Each link leads to the next. And by the time you understand what the final link is, you will see this city differently. Before I walk you through it, I want to set something aside to come back to. There is one number, a projection that federal hydrologists have quietly embedded in their planning documents that almost nobody in Phoenix's real estate market is saying out loud. I will come back to it. But you need to understand what came before it first. The Central Arizona Project is not just a canal. It is the reason Phoenix exists at the size it does. Completed in 1992, after decades of construction and legal battles, the CAP is 336 miles of concrete-lined aqueduct stretching from Lake Havasu on the Colorado River all the way southeast through Phoenix and down to Tucson. It carries the water allocation that Arizona fought for in court for a generation. For the city of Phoenix, it accounts for roughly 29% of total municipal water supply. For outlying suburbs in Maricopa County, that dependence runs even higher. In 2022, the federal government issued Arizona its first ever Tier 1 shortage declaration under the 2007 Colorado River Interim Guidelines. Arizona was required to forfeit 512,000 acre-feet of water, roughly 18% of its annual Colorado River apportionment. Nearly all of those cuts came directly out of CAP deliveries. Then came Tier 2A in 2023. The cuts deepened. Now, in 2026, according to the Bureau of Reclamation's most recent 24-month study released in March, Lake Mead is projected to sit at approximately 1,055 feet above sea level, 20 feet below the shortage trigger threshold. Arizona is again absorbing a mandatory 512,000 acre-foot reduction. And the operating guidelines that govern this entire system, the legal framework that determines who gets how much, expire at the end of this year. There is no permanent successor agreement in place. The acting secretary of the Department of the Interior said in August 2025, the urgency for the 7 Colorado River Basin states to reach a consensus agreement has never been clearer. What that statement did not include is what the Bureau's own 24-month study confirmed for spring 2026. The April through July inflow forecast for Lake Powell, the reservoir that must fill before Mead can receive adequate releases, is 36% of the 30-year average. Not 60%, not 75%, 36. The canal exists. The water it was built to carry does not arrive in the volumes it once did. And every expert involved in Colorado River negotiations knows the post-2026 framework being written right now must account for a river that structural hydrology says will not return to 20th century norms. Here is where the story gets stranger, because the canal problem and the reservoir problem are the visible part of this. Below the surface of the Phoenix metropolitan area, something else has been happening for a century. And in July 2025, NASA and Arizona State University put numbers to it for the first time at this level of precision. Using data from the GRACE and GRACE-FO satellite missions, twin spacecraft that detect changes in Earth's gravitational field caused by shifting water weight, researchers calculated that the entire Colorado River Basin lost approximately 27.8 million acre-feet of groundwater between 2002 and 2024. That is a volume roughly equal to the full storage capacity of Lake Mead, the nation's largest reservoir, essentially drained, but underground, invisible, drawn down silently over 2 decades of growth and drought. The depletion of groundwater far outpaces the surface water losses, said Karem Abdelmohsen, the study lead author at Arizona State University. This is a big warning flag. What the GRACE satellite data showed about the acceleration is what makes this more than a historical footnote. In the first period of the study, 2002 to 2014, parts of western and southeastern Arizona were losing groundwater at a rate of about 5 millimeters per year of equivalent water height. Between 2015 and 2024, that rate more than doubled to 12 millimeters per year. The aquifer is not depleting at a steady pace. It is depleting faster each decade than the decade before it. This matters for Phoenix in a specific and uncomfortable way. Phoenix has historically treated its groundwater as a reserve, a bank account to draw on when CAP deliveries fall short or when the Salt and Verde rivers run low. But what NASA can now measure from orbit is a bank account that has been quietly making larger and larger withdrawals, with deposits that do not keep pace. The water that Phoenix calls its safety net is shrinking in ways that were invisible until a pair of satellites began measuring gravity changes in 2002. Stay with me on this, because the next layer is where the legal architecture of the city's growth story enters the picture. For 40 years, Phoenix has marketed itself on a legal concept called the 100-year assured water supply. Under Arizona's landmark 1980 Groundwater Management Act, any municipality or developer seeking to build new housing must demonstrate that enough water, physically, legally, and continuously, will be available for the next 100 years. It is the foundation of the city's growth narrative. Builders sell homes on it. The city's Economic Development Office cites it. Real estate brochures in Maricopa, Scottsdale, and Chandler reference it. In June 2023, the Arizona Department of Water Resources released a new groundwater model for the Phoenix Active Management Area. The model projected an unmet demand, a documented groundwater shortfall of 4.86 million acre-feet over the 100-year planning window. Because of that finding, ADWR announced it would no longer approve new certificates of assured water supply based solely on groundwater for proposed developments in the Phoenix AMA. Read that carefully. The state's own modeling said that the groundwater supply, under current trajectories, is insufficient to support what has already been permitted and planned, let alone what the next wave of developers intends to build. State officials were deliberate about the framing. They called the 100-year Assured Water Supply Program functional and working as intended. They said existing homes are not affected. They said this signals a transition to more innovative sourcing, desalination partnerships, advanced water recycling, imports from outside the basin. And Arizona genuinely leads the country in per capita water efficiency. The city recycles more than 90% of its wastewater. The conservation record is real. But here is what that framing does not resolve. The gap exists. The state modeled it. The number is 4.86 million acre-feet. In a system already being cut by federal shortage declarations, already losing groundwater at an accelerating rate that NASA can observe from 400 miles above the surface, the buffer that underpins the legal promise of a 100-year supply just developed a documented shortfall large enough to require a structural redesign of how growth is approved. If you live in the Phoenix Valley, any part of it, drop a comment and tell us whether your water provider has communicated any of this to you. Tell us which city you're in, because the exposure is not uniform across the metro. We read every local report that comes through here, and your account matters. Let me stay with you on this for one more layer, because what federal agencies discuss in the language of acre-feet and shortage tiers translates into something far more concrete. Lake Mead, the reservoir that feeds the Central Arizona Project through Hoover Dam, has a dead pool elevation of 895 feet. Dead pool is the threshold at which the water level drops so low that water can no longer flow through the dam's outlets at all. No downstream delivery. No hydroelectric power for approximately 1.3 million people across Nevada, Arizona, and California. No flow to the cap intake. Robert Glennon, Emeritus Professor of Water Policy and Law at the University of Arizona, explained it plainly to Newsweek. Dead pool would mean no hydropower, no water supply. So there are 40 million people who rely on the Colorado River, and if there's no water coming through Hoover Dam, that affects the water supply for 40 million people. Lake Mead currently sits at roughly 1,054 feet above sea level. That sounds like comfortable distance from 895, but the mathematics of declining reservoirs are not linear. Lake Mead's canyon is V-shaped, wide at the rim, narrow at the base. Each foot of elevation drop below a certain level holds progressively less water than the foot above it. The rate of decline accelerates as levels fall because the geometry of the canyon itself works against recovery. The Bureau of Reclamation's March 2026 24-month study shows the combined storage of Lake Powell and Lake Mead at approximately 37% of total system capacity. The 2026 spring inflow forecast for Lake Powell is 36% of the 30-year average. Arizona Water Company now describes conditions in the Colorado River Basin as the driest experienced in the basin in more than 1,200 years. The system has never operated under these hydrological conditions at this level of demand. The legal framework governing it expires this year, and Greater Phoenix adds approximately 100,000 people to its population every 12 months. There is one thing I have not yet told you. Everything in this video was building toward it. At the start, I told you there was a number, embedded in federal planning documents, that almost nobody in Phoenix's real estate market is saying out loud. Here is what that number actually means when you stop reading it as a technical projection and start reading it as a description of a real place. The Phoenix Active Management Area groundwater model shows a 4.86 million acre-foot shortfall projected over 100 years. The cap is already absorbing 512,000 acre-feet of mandatory cuts per year. NASA has confirmed that aquifer depletion in the region has more than doubled in rate over the last decade. And the snowpack feeding the upper Colorado River, the source of everything that flows through Hoover Dam, through the Cap Canal and into Phoenix taps, is coming in at 36% of the long-term average this year. Stack those four numbers on top of each other, and you get a picture that no individual agency is required to show you in one place. Phoenix's water managers are among the most sophisticated in the country. They have storage banks, recycling systems, efficiency programs, and diversification strategies that most other Sunbelt cities do not. Sharon Megdal, director of the University of Arizona Water Resources Research Center, has noted that even if early 2026 snowpack is robust, the system will remain highly stressed. She said that before this spring snowpack came in at 36% of average. What is happening in Phoenix is not a crisis in the dramatic sense, not a faucet running dry next Tuesday. It is something more structurally difficult. It is the slow convergence of four separate systems: a depleting river, a depleting aquifer, an expiring legal framework, and an accelerating population, moving toward the same constrained future from four different directions. Each system has buffers. Each buffer is smaller than it was 10 years ago. The desert has been asking the same question for a century. The city has answered it with engineering and legislation and remarkable ingenuity. What changed in 2023, confirmed again by NASA in 2025, and visible in every Bureau of Reclamation table published in 2026 is this: the answers are getting harder to write at the same pace the question is being asked. You don't run out of water in a day. You run out of margin year by year, quietly, until the map everyone was reading no longer matches the ground.